Hey, I'm Chris Pope, and this is howtotrapbeavers.com. This segment, I'm going to show you how to stretch your beaver once you fleshed it. So, I've got my fleshed beaver. I fleshed it with the pressure washer. You can see that video. And it's damp. I've wrung as much water out as I could. So now I've got it laying flat on the back of the beaver on my table here. And because of the way I skin beavers and leave them connected, I don't skin them all the way. Cut them all the way up the belly to start with. Now that's what I've got to do before I can stretch it. So I find my midpoint, cut up between the front legs, straight up to the bottom lip. Cut that bottom lip. Now we're ready to go. And I'll keep my knife handy because there'll be some places I might want to even out, such as up here on these lips and all, and I usually cut the nose off. So I keep my knife handy. Otherwise, I stretch on a hoop. So ideally, we'll get something like that, a nice oval shape to it. And so when you're stretching on a hoop versus a board, you can stretch them on a piece of plywood, but you get very many pieces of plywood around, and it's a hassle to keep up with them and store them and all. So I like stretching on these hoops. And all you need is just some hog rings, which you can see I got a nice big mess here. So what I'll do, the way to get started with stretching a beaver is I'll go around and basically make hit my four ends, tail, nose, side to side, and I just take my hog ring, hook one in right in the edge of the hide, and give it a nice tap to get through the hide. I'm using a wooden table, so I don't have any issue with, gouging up my table or anything like that if I were using a metal table. But then I just work my way around. You can see I'm wearing my rubber gloves. Just makes cleanup so much easier. Now when you're dealing with these hog rings, you're probably going to tear your gloves because they got sharp ends on them. And if you're buying all new hog rings, I found that they've got some, and I don't know how well you can see them, but some that are rounded versus some that have a point in the top of them, kind of more squarish than the rounded ones. And I found that these ones with the point on the tip and are a little bit more squarish are usually easier to get in because they're easier to hammer on than these rounded ones. So just a little side note if you're looking to buy you some hog rings. And then I'm going to I've got my bottom lips here on the hide. I'm going to cut those off. That one's not that big of an issue. And I may actually wait until after the hide is dried before I cut the nose off. That gives me a nice anchor point. So now, I've got my beaver kind of squared out, I guess you could say. And the key with stretching beavers, or stretching any fur really, is you want to get the most stretch out of you can, because typically a larger hide is graded better and you make more money off larger hides. But you don't want to overstretch the hide. So, when they look at these beavers and when they're evaluating your fur, they could tell that the hide's really stretched out and the fur is not as dense as it should be, and they're going to dock you for that. Versus if you've got a nice, well-stretched hide, your fur's still nice and dense, and that's going to be a key to getting top dollar. And these hoops adjust so you can take them as large or as small as you need. And that's pretty handy for getting the most stretch that you can, but not overstretching these beavers. And so I'll just take my ends, hook them, take my sides, hook them. And that's a little bit of a stretch, so it might be stretched a little too thin, probably is, but I'm going to go ahead and start putting my other hog rings in around it, and we'll see how it goes. See, that's going to be too much of a stretch, so I'm going to need to loosen this up some. And once you get all your rings on, your beaver fully stretched out, then you can really see what you need to do, you know, if you need to try to stretch it a little bit. You can see here it's a little bit exaggerated, but the scalloped edges, you don't want a hide that looks like that. You want your edges to be nice and round all the way around. You don't want these scallops, because that's going to look bad and that's going to cost you. And I'll try to get it where I've got a ring every inch to 2 inches, and that's going to give me a nice smooth looking hide. It's going to stretch nice and not be overstretched or understretched. So now I've got my beaver stretched in a nice oval, and the finishing touch for me is I like to close off the feet holes. Just make everything, I try to make the hide as appealing as I can. And what I do with these holes is I just cut me squares of cardboard and put them under the holes. And then pull them together as close as I can and take a staple gun and staple them. And usually, because I've got a wood table, it sticks to the table, but I can pop it loose right quick, and it covers the holes, and the staples hold pretty nicely to just give your hide a little finishing touch. The more you can do to make your hide more appealing, the better off you're going to be in the end. Just so the buyer, the grader, can tell that you put a little extra effort into finishing that hide. In the long run, that's going to make you more money. And that hide's ready to dry. You got your flesh hide and your fur hide there. And I'll stand these up, prop them up to where I can get air circulation, airflow all the way around the hide. And I'll keep at least one fan going in my fur room. I've got a ceiling fan, and I'll also usually keep a floor fan going, not blowing directly on my hides, but keeping the air circulating, because you know these hides still got a good bit of water in them, so I want them drying as quick as I can. I don't want them molding or anything like that. But that's ready to go. So now we got our beaver hide dried. It's taken about 4 days, but you can see it's pretty stiff and hard. Now it's not tanned, it's not cured in any way. It's preserved through this drying, and it'll keep for a good while like this as long as you keep it away from moisture and bugs. You can actually freeze it like this, and that ensures that it stays away from bugs. You just need to be careful when you're thawing it. So for a last finishing touch, I've got a fur brush here, and I just like to run over. I like to do this with all my fur to prep it for sale. I run it against the grain to kind of fluff everything up. And I've just got a little square fur brush here. You can buy them at any trap and supply place. But I fluff it up, run it against the grain, and then just run it down with the grain to kind of smooth all the fur out. And that is our complete beaver hide, ready to go to market, ready for sale right there. And if you like this video, if you got good information out of it, please like us, find us on Facebook, visit our website, howtotrapbeavers.com, share the video, anything you can. You know, if you know of anybody that's interested in beaver trapping, point them our way, because we want to show everyone that's interested everything you need to know about trapping beavers.